Cheers guys, Epix here. Welcome to another episode of the VR show. This is episode 12, and while we may not have, the big news title that was Astrobot actually launching this week, we have a big title announced this week. Now, it's not launching until December. I'm talking about Borderlands 2 VR, which I was super stoked about because it's one of my all-time favorite action RPG light, albeit, but hey, one of my favorites. So we're going to talk about that in the VR chat segment. We're of course going to look at the handful of games that were announced this week in the VR XP segment. And of course, coming up, VR Roundup, where we take a look at all the current events happening in and around the world of VR across all platforms in the VR Roundup segment. But before we do that, guys, I want to talk about what I've been up to this week and kind of what the game plan is moving forward. So you'll notice that this last week I launched a couple of game videos, Vox Machinae, Astrobot, all alongside the VR show. That had been a long time coming. I also had a third. Fortunately, I wasn't able to load that because of, Servios, and we'll leave it at that. I'm talking about Creed. But with that said, Astrobot is doing well, as is Vox Machinae. And I think it's because I went back to basics of making it truly a quick look. In other words, as closely as I can, as close as possible to having it be my first look at the game. And I hadn't done that for some titles, that I'd released over the last few months, where I'd spent hours in a game and it didn't come across as a quick look, right? That changed with these titles. I think I'm going to stick to that. That was the original intention. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you like these videos, guys, and the gameplay videos, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps throw these videos around YouTube's crazy, wretched algorithm. And throw some comments in there if you have any questions about this show, anything we've covered, or questions for a future live stream that you want me to answer. And with that said, guys, sit back, chillax, grab a bevy or snack of choice, and let's take a look at this week's VR Roundup. First up, VR Cover, the company known for delivering custom faceplates for Rift, Vive, Gear VR, and Windows mixed reality headsets, has now announced custom covers for the Oculus Go mobile headset. They will begin shipping the faceplates on the 19th of October for $29, plus $7 for regular shipping, or $19 for express shipping. That, of course, if you're in the United States. VR Covers has stated that their universal disposable faceplates, which essentially work on almost every unit out there, will also work on the Oculus Go. VARJO, the Finnish startup that we featured on this show multiple times over the last couple of years, have announced a $31 million round of Series B funding. They shipped alpha units out last year, which have an effective resolution that they are calling human eye resolution of about 50 megapixels per eye. Now, they will no doubt require an extremely powerful computer to operate if the Pimax is any example of what you're going to need for higher resolutions, but keep in mind they do things a little bit different. So this picture, for example, highlights the technology using a virtual cockpit for comparison with the VARJO at the top and the Oculus CV1 at the bottom. The technology mimics real human vision in the sense that a human only has roughly 5 degrees of area in their full field of view that has that high resolution clarity. So they similarly have a small high resolution area that makes up, the 50 megapixels that they're claiming to utilize. They're calling this their bionic display, and it uses eye tracking to ensure that the foveated style high resolution spot at the center stays at the center, wherever you happen to be looking, as it does with real human vision. With the additional funding, VARJO hopes to bring the set to market, which is expected to be high-end and for high-end applications, given the likely $5,000 to $10,000 US price range. Those of you like me with an Oculus Rift among your VR gear may have noticed that Oculus Home 2.0, which had previously been in beta, has started appearing as users' new default home experience. The Home 2.0 utilizes Unreal Engine lighting as well as Unreal Engine physics. The default 2.0 experience I received had me on a house cliffside perched high above a forested and hilly landscape. There's a table on the deck that has a laser gun which you can shoot out at AR-style targets that respawn each time they are shot at and hit. Users are able to pin windows onto virtual TVs and monitors in VR thanks to Dash integration. The biggest component, though, would have to be the social aspect, which allows you to hang out with up to 8 users in total in each other's homes using your Oculus avatars. Let me know, guys, if you've had a chance to experiment with this at all with other people, what your thoughts are in the comments below. This is some exciting news. With the bump-up performance offered by the PlayStation 4 Pro, many gamers wondered whether a true sequel to the Sony PlayStation 4 would be launched, and more importantly, when would it be launched? Well, the usual years between iterations for the folks at Sony, roughly 6 years. Now with the PlayStation 3, that was stretched out to almost 7 years, and you gotta remember the PlayStation 4 is coming up on 5 years of age next month, so it's pretty fitting that Sony CEO Kenshiro Yoshida has stated in an interview with the Financial Times that, at this point, what I can say is it's necessary to have a next generation hardware. No details other than that announcement. As we get details, I'll of course report them here. This one a bit concerning, not sure how widespread, but Michael Jones, the founder of BrainFizz VR, posted a picture showing a burn on his scalp that he states was as a result of using the HTC Vive wireless adapter while playing a game called Organ Quarter, which is a VR horror game. Upload VR had the story, and they've gone and asked HTC if they supplied a heat pad with the device, along with a query on the operating temperature of the device. And here's what HTC had to say via their official statement. At Vive, we take our users' safety seriously. We are investigating the report as quickly as we can. We do not have further comment at this time. Now, there was some more discussion on Twitter and elsewhere about this. Apparently, the Vive Pro version of the device does come with a heat pad, while the regular version does not. And the version that Michael Jones was using, and he has since confirmed this, was indeed the Vive Pro version. So, in other words, he did have the option of including a heat pad, but failed to do so. Still, the fact that it gets that hot at operating temperature, pretty worrying. Hopefully something that gets addressed though. One of the biggest HTC Vive mysteries for me is how, after the success of the initial Portal Stories VR demo that we got way back, guys, in 2016, Valve hasn't released an official Portal 2 for VR. Now, I can understand IP like Half-Life. That requires tremendous resources, but having done so much of the legwork for Portal Stories VR in May of 2016, surely they could have released a full Portal VR sometime in 2017, hell, sometime this year. Now, Valve is, of course, working on a few as yet unannounced VR titles, which, based on Valve's track record of release dates, well, may not be here for a while. But in the meantime, Reddit user Tesseract Cat has posted in the Vive subreddit that he and a small group he's working with, have been working on a Portal clone in Unity for virtual reality. Over the years, I've heard numerous claims of fan-made projects, and rarely do they materialize into anything meaningful, so I'm going to throw that out as a caveat here. However, they get the benefit of their statement, well, until proven otherwise. A game coming to Vive, Rift, and PlayStation VR called EVASION from developer Archaeact, best described as a solo or team-based bullet hell shooter. The game states they make excellent use of room-scale VR if it's available, and it does appear in the trailer video that the person in the game is actually utilizing some type of room scale above and beyond, I'd say, what the average game demands. Still, it's going to be interesting to assess that for ourselves. You and up to 3 additional buddies can choose from 4 unique hero classes with powerful custom weapons and unique abilities. No word on the price or exact release date. As soon as I know, guys, I will throw it at you. Tetris Effect, the single-player adaptation of classic Tetris for the modern era, is going to be available for the PlayStation VR via the Sony store on November 9th for $40, with pre-orders offering a $10 US discount, so $30 US if you do the pre-order. The game features 30 plus stages of 10 plus modes of different gameplay styles by the devs behind the title Res Infinite. That's way back in 2001, so not the VR re-release, rather the original 2001 release. Megalith, the first-person arena brawler from Disruptive Games, is heading to PlayStation VR January the 8th, 2019. Pre-ordering is going to open up on the 13th of November. The game, featuring fast-paced cooperative brawling in the multiplayer online battle arena format, i.e. the classic rush to attack opposing teams' base via a stream of armies format. So again, pre-ordering opens up on November 13th. Still no final price for this. We'll throw that at you as soon as I know. All right, guys, let's talk VR chat here. And I want to talk about the announcement this week that has me super stoked. That, of course, the announcement from 2K of Borderlands 2 for virtual reality. Now, that title is going to be coming this holiday season. That's December 2018 for the PlayStation VR. And why I'm so excited about it, and there's some caveats that we'll get into. This won't be a multiplayer experience, which is a lot of fun in Borderlands 2 as well, playing co-op with a buddy, for example, but it's a great single-player experience as well. So what do I like about this title? And what have I liked about the franchise since the launch of the first game way back in 2009, if you can believe it, almost a decade ago now? Well, it's got a lot going for it. First up, the post-apocalyptic setting, which for me, guys, right up there with science fiction and fantasy. In fact, to me, it's almost a blend of the two, right? You've got this post-apocalyptic society right out of like a Mad Max movie, which I loved as a kid, right? With Mel Gibson, those. It's most of the trappings of an RPG. I'd say action RPG light. It's not a Fallout 4. It's not a Diablo 3. But it does have a lot of the trappings of an RPG. It's got the character types, the level ups, the itemization, right? The item slots, the customization in the form of item upgrades and enhancements and quests, etc. The setting is awesome, and it introduces just enough comedy to just make it a really entertaining, not too dark experience. If I want the more darker side of things, there's games for that, right? Fallout 4, for example, which I just talked about. Borderlands is a little bit more humorous, and it's got some fantastic, like Handsome Jack, villains, right up there for me with guys like Trevor from GTA 5. I just love the witty, creative villains that they use. The graphic style, right? The art style that they use. It's more of a cartoony, not cel-shaded, but it's more kind of cartoony ink style than it is, high-resolution textures, again, in a Fallout type game. The good thing about that is that type of a game engine runs fairly decent across a wider range of graphic cards. You can go back and try Borderlands 2, the prequel that they just released. I think that one was in 2014, which is, even that is 4 years ago now. They run really well on lower and mid-level cards of the year they were released in. So Borderlands 1, which was a 2009 game, runs really well on low-end and mid-level cards that were around in 2009. That's going to translate well to virtual reality. to hit that sweet spot without having to introduce a lot of reprojection. Borderlands 2's case, we're talking about an engine that's over half a decade now, right? 2012, I believe, was the release of Borderlands 2, 3 years after the first. So it's a little long in the tooth, still looks fantastic, because the other thing that type of a look has going for it is it ages well. It performs well, and it ages well. So just a lot of things going for it, and hell yeah, I cannot wait to try it. The other thing that I like about the game is it's the perfect title to pick up in the single player experience and play for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, right? The quest system is that good in this game. There's a longer central storyline, but along the way you can do these little one-off quests, these little side diversions that take just a few minutes each, but can lead to fantastic gear upgrades, gear enhancements, etc., and open up the game world. How that's going to translate into virtual reality, well, that's what I'm freaking curious about. I can really see this title doing well if it focuses on, deliver a seated experience. I think that's fair, like with Fallout 4 VR, but have a front-facing, standing experience as well. They don't have to open up room scale necessarily. If they had a decent room scale, that would be awesome. But just to translate the game mechanics for a solid standing or seated experience, that's going to be enough for me. I'm just super, super stoked about that. Can't wait. So let me know, guys, your thoughts on Borderlands 2. Are you as excited as me, or just not for you? Because I'm serious, Handsome Jack, honestly, just one of those villains. You're laughing at the jokes, even though the jokes are launched at you, and you know he wants nothing more than to essentially flay you alive, right? But yeah, just a fantastic game world, fantastic setting. So excited to see that coming over to VR, which begs one last question. Whether the PC versions of this game, because after all, in my opinion, with modding, that is where these types of games tend to shine. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be playing this on PlayStation VR, and I'm going to be happy as hell to play it there, right? We're not talking about the most advanced tracking solution of the big three, but if it's good enough for this title, it's probably going to work pretty well. And again, it's an older engine that should translate nicely to the PlayStation 4's capabilities. And in my example, the PlayStation 4 Pro. In fact, I'm curious what the differences are going to be there as well. Well, guys, that's it for Borderlands 2. I could seriously talk about that game for another hour. I love it that much. So stoked. Let me know your thoughts on this and anything else that we covered in this episode. Again, if you liked the video, please hit that like button. It really helps spread it around. And let me know what you thought or what questions you have in the comments below. Guys, have a kick-arse weekend. Enjoy your week. Look forward to some VR games that I will be releasing this week. And, of course, a long overdue arcade build video. Guys, as always, cheers.